Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are taking, well, the absolute ultimate plunge. We're setting off on a journey from the sparkling, sunlit surface of our oceans all the way down to the darkest, most mysterious depths on Earth. It is a world where literally every shallow could be a predator, and every layer reveals something even more alien than the last. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our literal dive plan as we descend layer by layer today. We'll start with the Earth's blue heart. Move through sunlight and surface travelers. Check out vibrant underwater cities, meet the giants of the open sea, encounter monsters of the deep, and finally, look at preserving the final frontier.
So, kicking things off with Section 1, the Earth's blue heart. When you really stop and think about the staggering scale of our oceans as this single, gigantic living force, this next fact is just mind-blowing. A massive 80% of this ecosystem remains totally unexplored. 80%. I mean, we essentially know less about our own ocean floor than we do about the surface of the moon. With less than 20% mapped out in detail, we are quite literally living right next door to an absolute mystery.
And yet, this massive unknown area acts as the lungs of our Earth. Invisible phytoplankton are working around the clock to produce over 50% of the oxygen we breathe. That means every second breath you take comes directly from the ocean, constantly sustaining our planet's atmospheric balance.
Which brings us to our second spot, Section 2, Sunlight and Surface Travelers.
Now, what's really interesting here is the concept of natal philopatry. I know, big word, but it's incredible. Sea turtles have been crossing our oceans since before the dinosaurs, right? Yet these females can navigate thousands of miles of open water to return to the exact same beach where they were born decades earlier. They use the Earth's magnetic field as a built-in internal compass. It's an absolute marvel of evolution.
And you know, they aren't the only ones with incredible traits. Take dolphins, for example. Their intelligence is so sophisticated that wild populations in Brazil actually hunt cooperatively with human artisanal fishermen. They literally drive fish into the nets and signal when to cast. Then, back to our sea turtles. Did you know the temperature of their sand nest actually determines the hatchling's sex? Warmer sand equals more females. And soaring above all of this, the albatross uses its massive 3.5-meter wingspan to fly thousands of miles without even touching land. They act as this vital, living bridge between the sea and the sky.
All right, let's sink a little deeper into Section 3, Vibrant Underwater Cities.
The contrast here is absolutely staggering. Coral reefs occupy less than 1% of the entire ocean floor. Think about that, less than 1%. Yet they sustain more than 25% of all known marine species. They are basically the Amazon of the ocean. It's a breathtaking concentration of biodiversity, packing millions of wildly different creatures into these fragile, incredibly crowded underwater metropolises.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how bizarre and ingenious life on the reef can be. Take the clownfish. If a dominant female dies, the largest male actually changes sex to take her place. Or the moray eel. This guy hides a second, literally alien-like pharyngeal jaw in its throat to pull prey in. And then there are delicate seahorses who completely flip the reproductive script. The males are the ones who carry and hatch the eggs in a specialized pouch. Talk about cooperative survival strategies.
Now, of course, no reef is complete without sharks, but we really need to look at the facts here. Let's bust a major Hollywood myth. Movies paint them as these mindless, bloodthirsty human hunters, but the ocean reality, completely different. Sharks have survived for over 400 million years. They are crucial top predators that maintain the health of the reefs by keeping populations in check. And when they do bite humans, it is almost always just an exploratory bite, a curious misidentification in murky water. They aren't monsters, they're silent guardians of the ecosystem's balance.
Leaving the bustling reefs behind, we're swimming out into Section 4, Giants of the Open Sea.
180 tons. Just let that massive number anchor you for a second. That is the weight of an adult blue whale stretching up to 30 meters long. To put that in perspective, its tongue alone weighs as much as an elephant. But what's truly mind-boggling is that this colossal giant survives by filter feeding almost exclusively on tiny centimeter-long crustaceans called krill. It eats up to 4 tons of them in a single day.
And the biological impact of a blue whale is so immense that even after death, a whale continues to sustain life. In a phenomenon called a whale fall, the sunken carcass becomes a true island of life in the deep. It feeds deep-sea scavengers and specialized bacteria for decades in a barren environment where food is otherwise incredibly rare.
Sharing that open sea are the ultimate strategists. Orcas, often called the wolves of the ocean, their collective intelligence is honestly terrifyingly brilliant. They work in perfect synchrony to literally wash seals off ice floes using artificial waves. They use bubble curtains to trap schools of fish, and they even know exactly how to flip great white sharks upside down to induce a paralyzing state called tonic immobility. Best of all, each family pod has its own distinct culture and hunting dialect, passing these advanced tactics down through generations.
Okay, shift gears with me, because it is time to leave the light entirely. Section 5, Monsters of the Deep.
Let's move to and see how this builds as we make our physical descent into the abyss. First, we drop past the sunlit surface to 200 meters into the twilight zone, where lanternfish use bioluminescence just to glow in the dimness. Keep going to 4,000 meters and we hit the abyssal zone. We are talking absolute darkness and crushing pressure here. Finally, we plunge over 10,900 meters down into the deepest trenches. Out here, conditions seem completely impossible for anything to survive.
Yet, life doesn't just survive here, it thrives in the most sci-fi ways imaginable. You have the legendary giant squid, 13 meters long, with eyes the size of dinner plates, battling sperm whales in the pitch black. Then there's the frilled shark, a literal living fossil with 300 recurved teeth arranged in 25 rows. No thank you. The black sea devil dangles a glowing biological lantern right in front of its mouth to lure prey into its jaws. And scurrying along the bottom are giant isopods, these 50-centimeter-long cleaners of the deep that look exactly like massive prehistoric pillbugs.
But perhaps the biggest shock of the deep ocean is how life actually gets its energy way down there. Up on the surface, life relies on photosynthesis, depending entirely on sunlight. But down near underwater volcanoes, water shoots out of hydrothermal vents at over 350 degrees Celsius. Here we find chemosynthesis. These incredible extremophile bacteria literally transform toxic chemical compounds like hydrogen sulfide into vital energy. Finding entirely sunless ecosystems teeming with giant tube worms and ghost crabs, that discovery completely shattered our scientific understanding of the limits of life on Earth.
All right, let's ascend rapidly back up to reality for our final section. Section 6, Preserving the Final Frontier.
Because here's the thing, the ocean plays a massive, absolutely critical role in our planetary stability. It's a vital carbon sink, absorbing a quarter of all human-produced CO2. It acts as a global heat shield, capturing over 90% of our excess global heat. And its currents, like the Gulf Stream, literally regulate our global weather patterns. But this immense interconnected system is under severe pressure right now, from plastic pollution, overfishing, and rapid warming.
So, the crucial point is this. Our gratitude must be accompanied by deep responsibility. We can sit here and marvel at navigating sea turtles and strange glowing creatures of the abyss, but this delicate balance sustains our very existence. Protecting the ocean means protecting our climate, our biodiversity, and ultimately our own future.
Which leaves us with this final lingering thought to close out our explainer today. We've seen how vital every single layer of this watery world is, from the sparkling sunlit surface to the freezing alien trenches. So, I ask you, will we protect the 80% of the ocean we haven't even discovered yet? It really is our planet's greatest mystery, holding secrets we are only just beginning to uncover. Thank you so much for diving deep with me today. Keep exploring and keep asking questions.